Welcome to Real Estate AI Flash, the weekly podcast that takes AI from hype to habit, making it approachable and actionable for real estate professionals. I'm your host, Rajeev Sajja. Today's guest is Jill Wente from Spring, Texas, with Better Homes and Gardens Greene Real Estate. Jill speaks about how she drove 30% more business with AI. She shares practical strategies to win in AI search, virtual staging, and personal productivity. Let's get into it with Jill. Welcome to our Tax Day episode. Yes, April 15th episode. And today's guest joins us from Spring, Texas, a suburb of Houston, Jill Wente with Better Homes and Gardens Real Estate Greene. And Jill's been in business for 22 years and did over 155 million in total sales. And she and I connected on Instagram, and she's part of our Real Estate AI Insiders channel. There was some conversation, which I'm sure we'll get into. And I said her valuable insights on how she's leveraging AI is going to benefit our audience. So Jill, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, Raji. Happy to be a guest here and share some of the ways as far as how I'm implementing AI into my business as a practitioner.
Yeah, for sure. So, when we, I gave you, you've been in business for 22 years. So I'd love for the listening audience to get to know you a little bit, Jill, in terms of how did you get into real estate and bring us to today?
Wow, Raji, I got into real estate. Before real estate, I started 3 different companies with various levels of success. And then I was VP of strategic alliances and advertising sales for an online travel agency, which then we had 9/11 come along and they laid off a lot of people, including myself. And then it was a matter of what to do now. And I'm just like, okay, well, let's get into real estate, low capital requirement to get in, and let's see how that goes. And the first 5 years, I did terrible. I did terrible because I did not have a sphere of influence, and I did everything that they told us to do, and it just wasn't working. I finally started figuring out exactly what I can do better than some other agents, and I leaned into my internet skills and started blogging. Once I started blogging, I started getting my phone to ring from people saying that, hey, I found you on search, I found you on Google, I read some of your articles. Would you come and meet with me to help me sell my house, or can we talk about buying a house? So after I got those first calls, I then started digging into SEO, local 3-packs, how to show up on maps, and getting my website registered and get the citations in as many places as I can. And that's how, I generate on an annual basis about 35% of my opportunities or clients come from the internet.
That's amazing. And we'll get into this because I think this leads us into a little bit of where we are with AI and content creation and your trusted expertise and all of that stuff. I'm sure we'll get into that. So that's amazing. So, and you've always been a Texas native?
No, I grew up in the Midwest. I grew up in Central Illinois in a small little town. And then I was in St. Louis and then Austin for 5 years and Herndon, Virginia. And now I've been in the Spring area for, over 20.
All right. Wow. All right. So you've just not been to the West Coast. You've traversed everywhere else.
I've been to West Coast. West Coast is too expensive. You stay in Texas and
the
cost of living is significantly less here.
I get it. I get it 100%. My middle child, eldest daughter, moved from New Jersey to Santa Monica, California recently. And she just wants to live in the California life at least for a year. So we'll see how that goes. As long as she doesn't call me for money, we're good. Right?
I can understand why she'd like to live there.
Yeah. No, if there was an age you want to live there, it's her age. So I give her a year for that. So anyway, back to the podcast. So, AI has been around for 3+ years now. And so what was your first light bulb moment, Jill, that this could actually help you be more efficient, do better business, etc.?
My first light bulb moment was when I got that first call And I went on that appointment and I asked every seller as far as, where'd you hear about me from? And she laughs and says, you may think this is weird, but I found you via ChatGPT. And I'm just like, okay. When it started coming out, my first gut reaction was just like, oh gosh, I've spent years getting myself found on the internet. They're not going to be using the Google search anymore. My business is going to go down significantly. How am I going to make these changes? And I was really puzzled with that, figuring out exactly how I was going to be able to change my business to get those opportunities. And then when I got that first call, I'm just like, oh, okay. I need to spend some more time then in these LLMs and give it some queries and see if I show up and how I show up, and then what are they using as the citations. And that opened up my whole experience. And then this last year, as far as 25, 52% of my opportunities came from the internet, AI.
That's awesome.
It definitely increased.
Yeah. So let's double click on that for a second here. So there's a lot going on. We're recording this in March, coming out in April. You want to tune into March 18th episode. It is with the co-founder of 1000 Watt, Brian Boyero. They've come up with some really good research of how home buyers and sellers are using AI and how agents can win. So we really get into, I would definitely tune into that episode if you've not listened to it, if you're listening to this podcast, because whatever Jill's going to talk about, I think Jill's ahead of the game a little bit when she started years ago on SEO. Yeah, SEO has changed, but you don't throw the baby out with the bathwater, because I think SEO is really going to help you build more trusted content around answer engine optimization or generative engine optimization, how AI reads your content. So I'm curious, Jill, before we dig in a little bit on that, I'm curious, when was that first call you got from your client that said, I found you on ChatGPT? When was that?
It was February of 2025.
Okay, so a little over a year ago. Okay. And then you shared with us, or you DM me on Instagram about how many clients or volume or clients, whatever way you described it, that you've gotten from, I know you said you went from 35% back when SEO was the main game to like 52% you said now, which probably includes SEO and your AI stuff. Give me your pure AI clients from AI alone. You share some stats with me. Share that with the audience.
Clients AI alone, I've gotten 6 sellers, 2.5 million volume that I've closed. I had already worked with 3 other sellers, buyers that relationship didn't work out. They chose somebody else, because what AI does now is that AI, besides the recommendations, the next thing that they tell people to do is that you should interview more than one agent. And SEO didn't do that. So I'm going to find that I'm going on a few more appointments, and I'm not always going to be the right match for that particular seller or buyer. And I've already got 2 right now that I'm working with that either have scheduled appointments with, or I've signed listing agreements, and that's another 1.5 in volume.
So close to 4 million in volume.
Yes.
Right. And is that the last 12 months, or what's the time frame of that since the first call of ChatGPT Feb 2025?
That would be for the last 12 months.
Yeah. So if you're listening to this podcast, it's very important to know that some of those people that Jill got as a result of what she's done to date could have been someone else's client. Most people know an agent or two for sure, right? Because I recently had, in January, I had Michael Perna from EXP from Detroit. And he said, we get 4 to 6 clients a month from AI. And most of them are cold, don't know Michael Perna, but they're just searching on AI versus Google. Although Google has, AI overviews as well. It's one and the same, bucket-wise. And it could be somebody else's client that they're going somewhere else. So I think it's important, if you're listening to this podcast, to look at your AI strategy, content strategy, bios. We talk about it on almost every episode. We'll put some links in the show notes as well. To optimize your bio across the internet, wherever you have a bio, including a Google My Business page. Most people don't realize, Jill, that there's 750 characters on a Google My Business page that you can influence AI with. So again, look at all of the places you have bio, short, medium, long, and make sure the message is consistent with what you're saying to AI, no matter where AI looks. So that's just foundational stuff. And then what you've done that most agents haven't done, you took on to blogging early, okay? Or you've done it consistently. Let's just say that. Everybody started a blog or two. Just like podcast world, they say that most people don't make it past 3 podcast episodes when you started. So I think it's just similar. Like if you blog, if you needed a light bulb moment to start blogging, it's here now, okay? Because this is the time you demonstrate your expertise. And I've always said the way you get found in AI is first of all, you got to be seen, foundation. You got to be believed. And the way your people are believing you, Jill, is because you put some content out that they read and say, I think I can trust Jill a little bit to pick up the phone and call her. And then you become chosen. So be seen, be believed, and be chosen. So I'd love for you to, let's get into a little bit before we get off the AI search topic. I'm curious, what kind of content have you published on your blog? And I'm sure you have like Google Analytics and looking at what performs well if you're sort of nerdy like that. But I'm curious, what topics have you written about that demonstrate your expertise? Let's give some actionable takeaways for our audience.
As far as a lot of that, I can say is that I've seen as far as what actually gets picked up as far as citations on it.
Yeah.
And the consistent bio through the different platforms is big. Having a consistent name, address, phone, that is big.
100%.
Back when I was blogging years ago, getting links from all these different directories was big.
Yeah.
And I'm still doing that. I've had Google Business profile for years. I've got 122 reviews on Google, and creating additional content via post on Google. All of that feeds the engine, and it fed as far as getting shown up in search results and the local 3-pack. And I think all of those things together has helped the AI process. And then you come back then, and with the AI is you tell them as far as what your years of experience has been, how many families that you've helped, which I've helped 570 over my career. So that's a big number that they like. I've got over 525 5-star reviews, another big number that they like. And then I've just started adding in some additional content on my site that goes into one about reviews, because a lot of the AI cannot read all the actual reviews that you have. So I have been putting some of those reviews actually on my site. I've had neighborhood pages for years, and I have been revamping some of those neighborhood pages. You have to make a decision that this is a way that you want to get opportunities and stay consistent with it. It's by doing these items, you have an opportunity to catch somebody right when they're making that decision, right when they're ready to sell, right when they're ready to buy. It's different than working your sphere. They are cold opportunities. They have already checked you out and have already asked numerous questions through AI. So once you get there, you do not need to spend a lot of time on yourself, because I go there and says, I'm sure you've already checked me out because of where you told me that you found me at. What information did you not find that you'd like for me to answer? I start there versus this is who I am, because they've already figured out who I am.
Yeah, this is so good stuff. So much good stuff here. So let me just double click on a couple of things. One, the opportunities I'm hearing that you've shared and others have talked to me about that come from AI are cold leads, but they're bottom of the funnel closer to transaction than checking you out, to your point. So that's
Yes.
important. Second, you mentioned neighborhood pages on your website, but also double down on specialization pages on your website. I've had an agent that I had on my podcast that she started implementing some of this stuff. I was sharing this when I was speaking to some agents. She's in Vermont, Jill, Blair Knowles. And so she runs a boutique brokerage, 15 agent firm. And there's like massive franchise firms in Vermont also. And she simply built these specialization pages on her website there's a lot of people that relocate to Vermont. So she built a relocation page. She built like luxury, whatever the themes are. She built like 7 or 8 pages. And in 24 hours, if you typed in, I'm relocating to Vermont, I'm looking for a realtor, she was being ranked by AI.
Wow.
So I think it's important to build on your neighborhood pages. Also, all of you that are listening need to have specialization pages on your website that AI can consume, that are easy to understand, that are plain English. And there's some formats, FAQs, write in lists, things like that. Those are evergreen pages. You'll never ever change them unless you need to materially change something. So I think that's something that you should definitely clear takeaway for most people that are listening. Neighborhood pages, specialization pages. The other thing you doubled down on was name, address, phone number. People still, send multiple signals. If you have a married name, you want to kind of settle down on consistency. No matter where AI looks, it's the same name, address, and phone number. And the last thing I'll double down on is you talked about reviews. And having a review is better than not having a review. But having a very comprehensive review is much better than just having a bare bone review. Like if I hired Jill in spring and she helped me buy a house, I'd say, Jill was amazing. I'd hire her again. That's a good review, not a great review. But I would encourage your clients, if they're writing a review, to have them use certain keywords that drive AI search engine optimization, right? So for example, I would say something like, Jill was amazing at helping me buy my first luxury home in Spring, Texas. I'm using keywords, Spring, whatever the area is, specialization is. And if I were transacting again, I would reach out to Jill first, like literally have some meat on the bone on the review that a client writes because they love you. They're writing a review already. Give them some guidance on some keywords, direct them. So I think those are some really good takeaways if you're listening to this podcast. How Jill's gotten ahead of the game, and she continues. It's an ongoing journey, in terms of what you're doing content-wise. So I think we've talked a lot about AI search. Anything else you want to add to this before we shift to the next topic, Jill?
No, as far as AI search, it's just like any other opportunity. Whether it's you're working your sphere of influence, whether you're farming, it's not something that you can just, I'm going to go in and change all my bios once, everything's good, and then that's all I've got to do. It's a continual and yet continual process that you need to be consistent at.
Yeah, 100%. Definitely. Good takeaway there. So let's shift a little bit towards other use cases that you're using, Jill, for AI that are obviously not AI search, lead gen, opportunity stuff. In your business that is driving efficiency, anything, start wherever you want to start.
Whisper Flow.
Oh,
I had heard about this last year about summer and I didn't do anything with it. I downloaded it and that was it. And then I heard about it again over the holiday here in 25. And I'm just like, I need to download this. And I have been utilizing this on my text messages on my phone. And anytime I'm typing anything, whether it be an email, whether it be post I'm doing, whether it be a Word document, I have Whisper Flow up and it is very accurate and it does great as far as also punctuation and then as far as the spelling. So that is one that it may be basic for some things, but as far as a time saver, that has really helped me save some time.
Yeah, that I doubled down on Whisper Flow. So for me, it was like October of last year, 2025. And it sort of keeps track. I sort of know my speed of typing. There's like 54 words per minute. And Whisper Flow sort of tracks your speed of dictation. So if you're listening to this pod and you don't know what Whisper Flow is, we'll put a link in the show notes. whisperflow.ai is a voice to text transcription tool that is AI driven. Works on your computer on any application you're using. They recently came out with an Android, so for my 3 Android podcast listeners, you have it. iPhone's been around for a while, obviously, so it works on your phone. To Jill's point, and for the last 4 or 5 months, it tells me that I'm typing now. I'm not really typing, as you know. I'm describing, to your point, Jill, 223 words per minute. So looking for a simple way to 5x your productivity or 4x your productivity, depending on how fast you type, WhisperFlow is a game changer. And we'll put a link in the show notes. I think you can get a 14-day free trial with the link. So have at it, try it, and it is absolutely, I can't live without it.
Oh, I'm not quite up that high yet. I'm probably at about 159. But even just that versus what I can type versus this, and then the capitalization, and then it does formatting if you're on an email. I'm just like, this is great.
100%, yeah, and I think it's a fact. It is a known fact that we think much faster than we type. Our brain runs much faster, and that we're trying to enabling that, and that's where you get the 3x, 4x productivity. So great takeaway with WhisperFlow. What else, Jill?
The other one is Nano Banana.
Yeah.
The thing for Nano Banana that I'm really using is, but actually there's 2 there, is that one, before I was paying my photographer to do virtual staging of empty rooms. I don't need to do that when I do Nano Banana. I put up that empty room, and I tell Nano Banana as far as, okay, put in a table and put in 4 chairs. It gives me a look at it, and I don't like the direction, so I say rotate it 90 degrees. Or I did a bed in a primary bedroom the other day, and then it took a little liberty and added a window above the bed. I said, remove the window. I do not need for you to add windows. That and utilizing it for photos for blog posts. I've always had challenges to where to find images, and I would spend so much time of finding a source that was reasonable for those images and the right images. Nano Banana does both of those things such more efficient for me. And saves me money on the road.
Yeah, exactly. And, pre-AI, you had to source images, and if you got something that you were not licensed for, you got a letter from Getty Images. So you don't want to get a letter from Getty Images with a fine. And AI helps you create really good images. And I think that's a great use case, and also virtual staging for empty rooms. And also maybe you took one shot of the 30 photographic shots for your house where the lighting was not that good. You can enhance it. So there's a great takeaways for virtual staging with Nano Banana Pro. And they just recently updated it to Nano Banana 2. So there's a lot more visually appealing stuff that you can do with Nano Banana. And that's a tool from Google Gemini. So if you go to gemini.google.com and just say create images, you are in Nano Banana land. So what else, Jill?
ChatGPT. I gotta throw ChatGPT in there, and once you start it and push it a little bit further, a little bit further, a little bit further. So I've started, I'm sure, with a lot of other people. It's like, well, let's start with listing descriptions. Let's start with blog content. Let's start with general directive/task, and then ask me questions so you can complete the task. And starting that direction. And I've really turned to ChatGPT now into more of a thought pattern. Thought partner. So I'm looking at that and saying, okay, I've got this question, and instead of wondering this or even doing a different fashion, I'm going to ChatGPT. I said, I've got this question. Ask me whatever you need to ask me, and this is what I'm trying to accomplish, and help me do this task.
Yeah, no, I think that's a pro tip right there. If you're listening to this podcast, it still amazes me, Jill, how many people that use AI don't ask AI to interview them to get more meat on the bone. So that's where everybody starts with like a replacement for Google. I go to ChatGPT. Fine. That's a place to start. But your goal is to evolve to where Jill is, which is being a thought partner. And always, especially if the stakes are high in what you're trying to It's not like you're asking what the score of a sports game is. That's just information. But you're asking it to create something. A great pro tip is before you generate anything, ask me 5 questions, one question at a time, so you can deeply understand my request before you start generating the task. So I think if you start to get interviewed, whether voice or text, I think that's a great pro tip right there for you to get better quality output from the same AI the agent next to you is using. So that's great takeaway there, Joe. Anything else, Joe?
The other one I use is Claude and Gamma. So
Yeah.
how I've been utilizing this is I've had this print listing description for years, or print marketing materials when I go out and meet with the seller. That I had it for years, that our marketing department provided with this. It looks good. But then I got to a point of this is just a little bit dry and boring. So I stopped using it and I just started talking to people. And then recently I noticed I'm just like, I am losing a couple opportunities. I should have had that opportunity. And I'm like, I think it has to do with the presentation materials. So I went ahead then and started by uploading into Claude. I said, here's some marketing pieces of mine. Here's some pages of my website where I talk about what I do. Now, what I'd like for you to do, and here's some information about me. I'd like for you to go ahead and turn this into a listing presentation for me. And it did. And then it spit out their format. I didn't like their format. I thought didn't have enough to really present to a seller. I threw it then over to Gamma, and I'm just like, oh wow, this is good. And then I downloaded from Gamma into PowerPoint, and then started doing some tweaks here and there, and started adding some links to show sellers exactly what this print material looks like, what this looks like on the web, what this video looks like. And that has been a real game changer for me as far as going in and meeting with the seller and not only be able to tell them what I'm doing, but actually be able to show them exact examples there. It has been a real game changer.
100%. That's great takeaway there. I mean, I've been a big fan of Gamma. And I'll tell you, the other tool that audience should pay attention to is if you have data or a doc for anything, look into Notebook LM from Google. It's notebooklm.google.com, and it has a slide deck option now. It's been there for a while, but they've evolved it to where you can download it into a PowerPoint. It's killing it in terms of the slide deck, the imagery, obviously imagery, courtesy Nano Banana, all the ecosystem. So that is technically free if you have a Google account. And Gamma, I think you get up to 10 slides for a free account, which you got to pay for more than 10. Here, you probably can do much better. So look at both those and find the right one for presentations. But the point is, AI can elevate your presentation without you having to be a designer. And that's really the beauty of it. And that's what Jill has shared with Gamma. So, all right, I have 2 final questions for all my podcast guests. Anything else you have on your list, Jill?
No, those are the main ones that I am really diving into. Everything with technology, with AI, it is moving so quickly, and you feel like you're always behind, which you are. But if you don't start at least implementing something and gaining some productivity for it, you're never going to be able to really take advantage of these new tools.
100%. And I think even if like my full-time job is AI now at my new role, and I don't keep up either. The goal, though, is to do better tomorrow than today and progressively be better this time next year. And that's the goal of anything. So I wouldn't worry about having FOMO to not keeping up. You should have FOMO that this time next year at the same place with AI. That's what you should be having FOMO about. So great takeaways. I think this episode is going to be really valuable for our guest, Jill. So here's my final two questions. So you've been in business for 22 years, successful agent in Houston. So if you were to start business today as an agent, brand new agent, what would your one piece of advice be for your younger self looking back?
Find your unique value proposition and go all in. I spent the first 5 years, literally, I was about ready to get out because I was not earning enough to even sustain my living, because I was doing what they said you should do versus what can I excel at? What was my skills that I could really put into play? Once I found that out and says, okay, well, it's internet. I know things about the internet that other people are just too afraid to learn. And this really excites me. And I started going all in and learning as much as I can about SEO and blogging. That's when things turned around.
Well said. Well said. Find your unique value proposition and do it better than anybody else because you love it and that's your niche. Because your vibe will attract your tribe for sure, right? So that's just your way of kind of driving your business forward. Great advice. So are you a book or a podcast person, Jill?
I'm actually both.
Both. Okay.
I like to read books because I like to hold something even though it's on an iPad. But as far as the utilization of my time when I'm driving from appointments, I have stopped once I found some really great podcasts out there. I am not listening to music in my car anymore. I am cranking on a podcast even before I've left the driveway.
That's awesome. So give me your one book and one podcast that has deeply influenced you and shaping you who you are, beyond the other ones that you listen to and read.
Book, Atomic Habits.
Oh, yeah.
1% daily improvement. And that's what I look at for every single thing, whether it's my business and how I can go ahead and promote listings more effectively for my sellers, how I can do a video 1% better, how I can do SEO 1% better, AI, it's all about 1%.
Well said. Well said. Look, James Clear's book, Atomic Habits, is probably in my top 5 for sure. And I read it once every year. Mm-hmm. It is an amazing book. It is life transformational for sure. And no matter what field of work you're in. So great book. How about a podcast?
Podcast, of course. I mentioned yours because
besides this one, this is a given.
And the other one's a Tom Ferry podcast.
Tom Ferry podcast. Excellent.
Yes.
Best business practices, success, sales.
Practices. He's got some great guests on there, especially when he talks with Jason Pantana. And you got to listen. Sometimes you got to listen to it twice to pick up some things as far as what he's talking about with Jason Pantana. And they have the Growth Mode podcast. So those are really great ones when I really want to stay focused in on real estate and how I can push my business just a little bit further.
Definitely. Well said. Well said. Those are great resources, Atomic Habits and the Growth Mode podcast. They also have Jimmy Mackin on there, who's like an amazing marketer. Mm-hmm. I've known Jimmy for a while. So great stuff, Jill. This has been fun. I'm glad we connected. And I'm glad, I'm glad we were able to make this happen. And you're probably my first guest from Houston or the state of Texas, I believe. I got to look back.
I would love to have that honor. It's a great honor.
Well, hey, there's always a first, and I appreciate you taking the time. And hopefully I'll meet you in real life sometime soon.
Well, you're in my area. You let me know, Rajeev.
I definitely will, Jill. Thank you for your time and have a great day.
My pleasure. Thank you, Rajeev.
If you found value in the show, follow it so you're notified every Wednesday when new episodes drop. Share it with someone in the industry you care for and leave us a review as it helps us reach more real estate professionals like you.